Everyone, welcome to my kitchen, KK's Big Kitchen, for another exciting episode right here on how we recraft recipes so that they're healthier for us. What does that mean? We're reducing inflammation. That is the number one thing. So it's not about never eating desserts, because I grew up making desserts at the age of 3. Starting, I would bring cookies to grammar school, but I was using inflammatory refined flours. I was using Crisco, margarine, really inflammatory fats. And today I've shown through my cookbook several ways that you can alter it. And you know, there's many other videos in my YouTube collection where I've done plant-based recipes, but major, we want to reduce the refined flours. We want the highest quality ingredients because your cells know everything that you're putting in your body. And we want to reduce the refined flours as well, all of those inflammatory ingredients. So we're going to be recrafting an apple crisp recipe today. And I'm going to show you a couple off the internet. A lot of people are afraid to alter a recipe. I'm going to show you how to do it, because you got to alter the recipes. So this grain-free blueberry crisp in my cookbook, Simple Cooking for Vitality, is an alternative where you're getting such low glycemic load. You can have a little bit of a treat after dinner and not jack up your insulin, because we are a society of chronically elevated insulin that is causing our inability to get rid of stubborn fats, our inability to have any type of metabolic flexibility, and fatty liver, and more problems with all of the heart tests, that they're looking at for heart disease. So similarly to this crisp recipe, let me put on my glasses. We're going to show you what we've got. So in the apples itself, now I always start with organic apples. Why? Because apples are one of the highest pesticide-laden ones, unless you're getting it where they're not doing that. So you need at least 8 apples, all right? So that's pretty easy. You're going to peel them. You're going to slice them. Super. We don't need to do that on air. But I do like to mix in a few Granny Smith with maybe like a Honey Crisp or a Macintosh. Honey Crisp is going to be really sweet. Macintosh is sweet and sour, kind of in the center. And then the Granny Smith is going to give you a little bit of sour. We are going to add in a little bit of lemon. Not all the recipes add for that, but here in the now these are just ones that we get offline, but basically in the filling itself, you're going to have between a 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup of refined sugar. Even if they say brown sugar, it's still refined. So the alternative for that is going to be your coconut sugar. Okay, so organic brown coconut sugar is going to be a lower glycemic load. And in the topping, you can see where you can even introduce maple syrup, which is it's a real sugar. It's not refined. So what that means is that the body recognizes some nutrients, not just a mainline right to jacking up your insulin calls and then your blood sugar. Also, you've got to have at least a 1/4 cup of flour in the apple mixture before you put on it. Now, you don't have to, a little bit, but what are the alternatives? So the alternatives are going to be something like an almond flour, because almond flour has got a very low glycemic load, which means it converts to sugar very low. The carbs are very low, and it's not inflammatory unless you're allergic to almonds. You can also use like a hazelnut. Cassava is going to have a little bit higher amount of the glycemic load. You could use some coconut flour, but we're going to introduce some alternatives there. So that's in the actual apples itself. And for the topping, you're going to find that it's between 1 cup to 3/4 cup of sugar in the topping. Well, you don't need that much. So we just have a palate that's way up here with sugar. We got to bring that baby way down so that we can actually taste the sweetness of apples, because an apple itself is sweet and the liver loves it, but the liver doesn't love a ton of sugar. So 3/4 of a cup of flour, 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. And those are both highly inflammatory. So you take something and if you're just adding insult to injury of what's going on. And then you're going to have oats and you're going to have butter. Now, where can we make those changes? So one of the things with oats is that they are not all glyphosate free. They're not all GMO free. They're not all gluten free. So I only buy one brand. You can get it on Amazon if you don't have it in the store, but it's in some higher end Publix. I get it at Whole Foods. It's farmers we trust or farmers we know. And it is certified, gluten-free, glyphosate-free, GMO-free. Get the rolled oats, spend the money on some oats. Some of the popular brands that advertise all the time, not okay. So you need high quality oats if you're going to use that. All right. Something I'm going to add into it, like I do in that other recipe in my cookbook, is we're going to add in some fresh ground flax seeds. Now I buy them, organic brown ones, keep them in a jar, and then I crush them up so they're ready to go. And this is going to add for you fresh, lots of good omega-3s. Omega-3s are the other part of the omega-6s in these inflammatory oils and processed food. Those are inflammatory to the cell. However, they kind of outweigh. You need a lot of omega-3s to outweigh the amount of omega-6s that people are getting. Even in meat that's corn-fed and improperly fed, we're getting the omega-6s, inflammatory oils. When a cell is inflamed, it's not going to work. Okay. So that's a big thing here. We're going to add in some flaxseed. You're going to probably want to up the cinnamon, and you're going to want to use a very high quality Ceylon cinnamon, really potent and beautiful. Cinnamon in itself is an alternative to sugar. And so it's going to light up those warm, savory senses in the body. So you can add in a little bit more cinnamon. And then when it comes to, we already mentioned the flour, when it comes to the butter, you can't just use any butter because any butter is going to have antibiotics. It's going to have other types of hormones in there. And if it is not, you actually want to make sure it is grass-fed. And if you can get brown cow, it's going to be the A2 protein, which is a little easier for people to break down because as of now, we've got nearing 70% of the people that are having silent inflammation from dairy in the joints. Arthritis is an inflammatory disease. So you can also not use butter and use coconut oil like I have in the recipe in the book. And those are easy ways to break down a recipe, change it up. It's just going to be better for you, delicious. You're not going to change the whole experience. You're going to change how your body responds to the recipe. So I'll be back after we pair up these apples and get ready to put this apple crisp together. So I've done all of them except for one. So just so you know, the tags, 9 is fine. 9 is organic. Anything with 3 or 4, that is a conventional apple, is going to have a lot of chemicals. These chemicals will seep through into, so get organic apples. They're not that much more. They taste so much better. I learned that 12 years ago. I could not believe the difference because I'm kind of an apple connoisseur. And growing up in Vermont, and you definitely want to get that. So anyway, so peeling the apple, this is great meditative practice. Listen to a podcast or watch a video. Just start at the top with you want a sharp knife, and you're just going to peel around the whole thing. This is great for hand-eye coordination, dexterity. It makes a little bit of a competition for yourself. You're just going to peel the whole thing, unless you really want to invest in one of those apple peeler core thingy things, but you don't need all that contraption. Here, done. All right, now I'm going to show you the easiest way to slice the apples. I used to do it all in half. My mother had me do, and then peel them. You don't need to do that. So what you're going to do, take a Sentuco knife. You can do the short one here. And all you do It's just, you're gonna cut around the core so much easier. And then you can keep the cores for a little snack, just eat the extra apple off around the core. So see how I'm just cutting it right around the core. And then you're gonna put the flat side. Here's the flat side. You just put the flat side down and cut it into slices. So that is the easiest way to do this, not putting so much pressure on your hand with the paring knife, because this is much easier to slice with. So I'm going to go ahead, slice these all up, put them in a nice prep bowl. You should definitely get your prep bowls. You can get them right on Amazon. Lightweight, not going to fall on the floor and crack. We've got the oven preheating to 350, and we are going to grease this with coconut oil. Just keep your little, I keep this out because I'm cooking a lot. Just brush it around in there. I do not use any aerosol oils. Zero. You don't need them. One more thing you got to buy. So one more way for a toxin to get into your body. So I'm going to slice these all up and then we're going to put it together. We'll be back. So let's just get this wrapped up. You'll be surprised how quick this goes when you utilize this technique instead of the old-fashioned way of cutting the whole apple, trying to dig out the core. You're gonna cut around the core. You can even nibble on the core while you're doing this. You got a little tiny treat. Make sure you get a board scraper. These just make your life so nice and easy. We're gonna get all these apple slices. So I've got a couple Macintosh in there, a few of the Honeycomb, and at least 2 of the more sour green Granny Smith apple. So how we're going to change this recipe, instead of all the sugar and all the flour, the inside doesn't need it, but we're going to use tiger nut flour inside. We can use almond on the top or on both, but this is a really good alternative. It's also low in the carb conversion here. It's a little bit sweet, slightly sweet. It is not a nut, it is a root. And tiger nut is a great alternative. I use a gluten-free type of baking. So we're just going to use 2 tablespoons to here it is right here, to put, and we're going to use a fork to get everything. There's a little bit of there's some chunks in there. We'll use a fork to break everything down. We're only going to use 2 tablespoons of of raw coconut sugar. Okay, put this around because the apples themselves have enough sugar. Really, you don't need that much more. We're going to use a half of a lemon. So just cut half of a lemon. So if you're just using it and not putting the whole lemon into your smoothie, it doesn't necessarily need to be organic, but sometimes depending on, you know, if they feel really thick, like thick skin, those are not great lemons. You want to be able to squeeze the lemon and feel it. If you're putting it into your smoothie, it definitely needs to be organic because of the chemicals on the skin. So just put that in there as well. We're going to want to get at least a full teaspoon. You can put a little bit more. I am going to add a little bit more of the Ceylon cinnamon. So that is a more potent cinnamon. So I'm just going to add in kind of 2 heaping half teaspoons. That way I'm getting a little bit more than a teaspoon. So don't be all stressed that you're not getting exact. Okay, I'm going to grab the nutmeg and a fork, and then we're going to. So depending on how much you like nutmeg or don't like it, alter it, 1/4, a half, or a sprinkle. I am going to put in a half here. So now we're just going to use a fork, and we're going to toss this around. The sugar is going to entice the sugar from the apple to start coming out. So we're just going to toss this around and let it sit to the side while we prepare for the topping here. Toss this around nice. So the tiger nut flour can get a little bit chunky. So This just smells like so amazing. It's a cinnamon and a nutmeg. That's really what entices the brain. So we've got our pan. I'm going to leave this in the pan here and just let it get a little bit moist first. While I tidy up, we'll put together the topping and get it in the oven. All right, let's have some fun making this topping. So instead of the regular oats, we're just going to increase the quality of our oats. So we're going to use these rolled oats. I'm putting in 3/4 of a cup. This scoop is about 1/4 of a cup here. And I'm almost done my oats. I have to restock, get that off to the side. We're going to put in 1/4 cup of freshly ground flax seeds. So beautiful. Here I have my little scooper because I always have these ready to go to add to my cocoa my coconut fermented yogurt or my smoothies. And the smell difference is totally noticeable and off the charts when you do it fresh. You smell the nutrients, and that's exactly what you want. Get these over here. So, you know, once you get your pantry organized, you have all these beautiful jars out, makes things so easy. And we're going to use 3/4 of a cup of fine. So this is fine almond flour. I buy Bob's Red Mill. So we're going to have plenty of topping here. For I like to have it nice and thick. So we're doing an 8x8 pan. If you have a 9x9, that's fine. You don't want your crisp too thin. You want it nice and thick. Okay, get that to the side. And if you are going to be using coconut oil instead of butter, we'll use some butter today. That really good quality grass-fed, grass-finished, A2 type of organic butter. This is my brand that I use for baking and cooking. Is the Nutiva brand only. I'll use another one for it, but this one is the best. Cold pressed, unrefined, rich coconut. It is a great coconut oil for baking. It is preferred by chefs. So now, on the sugar, we're reducing it way down. Instead of a cup or 3/4 of a cup, we're going to do 1/2 of the organic coconut sugar. You can even put it down even further if you've already got problems with your sugar metabolism or your glucose is getting up there a little bit. Even 1/3 of a cup is fine. So I'm just going to do a scant, almost 1/2 a cup here. Not quite. All right, it's fine. You just don't want it as sweet. We're definitely going to want our cinnamon. So a vibrant cinnamon taste is going to help you. So I put in a little bit more, that maybe 1.5 teaspoons, just 2 heaping teaspoons. It's going to help you to not notice so much that maybe it's not as sweet. Okay, which is great. We're going to use a fork or a pastry cutter. We already have the fork out for so we'll just use this. What you want to do is you want to just toss this around and get the lumps out and mix around everything. And then we're just going to cut in the butter. So we'll just open up that stick, cut it into slices, and we'll leave it in here. Let's get a pinch of a little bit of sea salt too. I have the pink Himalayan sea salt here. Between 1/4 and 1/2 is fine. I just sprinkle a little Himalayan sea salt over the apples. That salt will help the moisture come out as well. So this is all mixed in. Beautiful topping, right? So let's just get this open. So you see the prep time of this is really not long at all. And the cutting of the apples will help you to meditate, slow down, connect. That's what cooking at home does. Slows you down, calms you down, and helps you to connect with the food that you're going to be eating. So just cut off slices. You don't want it too soft. But if you have it a little bit softened, it's not going to be as aggravating for you to cut into the mixture. So using the fork that we just used is going to be the easiest way. Instead of dirtying a pastry, But if you do want to use one, this is what they look like right here. So I don't know why it's bent. Interesting. Okay, so so this is old school. Actually, the pastry thing might be a little easier on the wrist. Yeah, so let me grab that. And let's just cut through. It smells great. The oven's getting warm. So there's nothing like fall baking. Fall is harvest time. It's a time for us to indulge a little bit in everything that we planted in the summer. Unfortunately, that indulging usually keeps going all winter when we're supposed to be actually allowing our body to fast a little bit, especially after the holidays. And that's why a lot of people are looking for so-called diets after the holidays. You just need to trim it down because people consider diets to be temporary. So we want alternatives. We want alternatives to our treats that we can enjoy without wrecking our insulin here. So you just want it to be nice and chunky, which is great. Here's the pan. It's already greased with coconut oil. All right, so we're just gonna add the apples. And like I said, I like this really thick. You get it on your fingers, lick it, because it's gonna taste really yummy. Cinnamon, it's a lot of cinnamon. All right, so let's get the topping on. It doesn't have to be perfect, just get it over the apples. That's what apple crisp is like. You want to see some of the apples, have the topping, and so see, that's perfect and plenty. This might have to cook just a little bit longer, but there you go. Woohoo! Fabulous. All right, so we're going to get it in the oven, 350. We'll be back when it is done. There's nothing like a house that smells like cinnamon and apples. How yummy. So let's get this baby out. You want to cook it about, it's going to be about 40 minutes. You want it to be bubbly. You can cook it a little bit longer too. The top's going to be nice and browned. So depending on how mushy you want the apples as they cook, this smells just incredible. So as you can see, there are so many ways that you can enjoy family favorites, things from childhood. You just make them a little bit different, cut down on the inflammation. That includes sugar and the refined flours, improve the quality of the ingredients, and your body will love you, and you still get to experience the comfort food, the deliciousness, and all. So I hope you enjoyed that. And have a lovely start to your fall and holiday season coming up. Stay tuned for more videos related to holiday cooking and baking right here in KK's Fit Kitchen.